Courtenay-Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague for his speech. And certainly, as he talked about supports for people with mental health, one group that we haven't talked about, and this is definitely not partisan, it's about him and I living and coming from rural communities, and we know a lot of public safety personnel that include border services, correction services, firefighters, operational intelligence personnel, paramedics, police, public safety, communications and search and rescue personnel, Mr. Speaker. Half of those individuals, Mr. Speaker, experience some sort of mental disorder in their career, in their lifetime, and 1 in 10 will actually consider death by suicide, Mr. Speaker. So these professionals and their families have remained decades behind. We know the military and veterans that in regarding supports for their well-being, and we're just scratching the surface in addressing their considerable mental health needs. Their core funding comes from the Canadian Institute for Public Safety Research and Treatment, and it concludes on March 31st, just 6 weeks from now. Without a renewed commitment on that funding, Mr. Speaker, that will end. And maybe through you, Mr. Speaker, to my colleague, he can speak about some of those public safety personnel in his riding that have suffered through PTSD or some trauma, and how important it is that we ensure that they get the proper resources to support them, especially those heroes that have put their lives on the line and the sacrifice that they make, as we know, coming from rural Canada.
36 seconds, the Honourable Member of Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Yeah, well, Mr. Speaker, I really appreciate the member's question because, again, too often people from rural Canada are forgotten about and are neglected. But I think where the uniqueness of working with the provinces, to let the provinces have the program decided on how that's going to be spent is going to be beneficial, because every province has a different geography. They have different programs that might already be in existence. They have different needs and different ways of having that set up. So there might be a federal workforce like CBSA, but I do think the provinces are going to be best situated to make sure that the funding gets rolled out properly. I do have a healing lodge in my riding, Mr. Speaker, and that's another one that would have the opportunity to advance cultural practices that would be suitable to the needs of Indigenous people. So I think allowing each region of the country and allowing people to be able to have regionally have a little bit more control over that funding would be appropriate.